And welcome back to obviously Fight Talk. This is your UFC breakdown for this week's fights going down in Nashville, Tennessee. Your main event is Cub Swanson, Artem Lobov. But we're going to start at the card opener, Rob, and this is a good fight as well to open the card. It's Jake Ellenberger taking on Mike Perry. My first instincts here, Robert, is this is a good fight for Mike Perry.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Mike Perry, he's limited in what he can do. He can do certain things very, very well. And unfortunately, in Jake Ellenberger's last couple of fights, Mike Perry's strength doesn't really play into Jake Ellenberger getting the win. Jake Ellenberger's chin is questionable for a lot of people, and I would have to agree with it. He's been knocked out a couple of times. In his last fight, now you get knocked out by Jorge Masvidal, there's no shame in that, but he definitely looks a little bit chinny. Mike Perry has a game, Phil Baroni. We'll go with the new school Phil Baroni, where he just comes forward and throws shots.
That's a great actual.
Yeah, and I think he's a New Yorker too. So I'm gonna have to go with Mike Perry here. You know, he is quite a good striker. He had trouble with the likes of Alan Jouban, who's just more polished and he can throw, you know, more technical strikes. He can throw strikes down the middle, where Mike Perry's kind of a little bit wild, but I think that plays into his hands with Jake Ellenberger. Because Jake Ellenberger, you know, decent wrestler, not amazing. Good, powerful striker. If he lands, he can finish it. But Mike Perry showed he has a serious chin. So I do think if it's going to be a battle of the chins, you're going to have to go with Mike Perry. Coming off a loss, so is Jake Ellenberger. But I think this is a very good matchup for Mike Perry. It might even be, you know, a UFC matchup special. You know, the older kind of guy with a decent name. Putting Mike Perry, who, you know, a lot of people don't like, but he's a bit of a character. So they're going to put him in there to try, you know, hype him up or whatever. But I think it's a good matchup for him. I think his striking's going to be a bit too much.
When you look at Ellenberger's recent results, you are seeing a lot of finishes on his end. Now, we did have in the interim there
Matt Brown.
Before Matt Brown. That was a big victory over Matt Brown. Mike Perry, again, as you said, Jouban was more polished fighter in that bout.
And he just couldn't get going. He couldn't land too much. But you've seen in his previous fights, when he does land, he has power. He has a lot of power. I just don't think Jake Ellenberger's chin can hold up for that amount of power.
I agree. Perry he's in a way, he's almost a throwback to the old UFC fighter, like you were saying, Phil Baroni. Similar style. He's wild. He's a bit of an asshole, but he's a good, hard, heavy hitter. Ellenberger, I'd imagine, will be stay out of range or close the distance and take him down. That'll be the game plan coming in here. And Mike Perry will be go fucking wild and go hard. But I just think, I hate it because I sort of, like, I remember when Perry came in first and I picked him because remember he was just a black shadow.
And then you see him at the weigh-ins.
But look at all these, and then he was a dick at the weigh-ins, and I'm like, God damn it, Mike Perry. But look, he's legitimate. He hits heavy. He's a big hitter. He's put guys out.
Alan Jouban landed big shots against him as well.
I think the Jouban might have been a bit of a wake-up call that I can't knock everybody out. You know, there's got to be a plan B, and when plan B doesn't work, I can't just go back to plan A and be like, right, swing for the fences. But I think plan A here against Ellenberger could be the right plan. I think if he lands, I always talk about expiry. And I just think the expiry could be gone on Ellenberger's. I like Jake Ellenberger.
Yeah, you'd have to think that distance management for Jake Ellenberger will be vital in this fight. Yes. As you said, he's going to have to either be on the outside or he's going to have to be on the inside, the very inside, not in that middle where Mike Perry can land. If Jake Ellenberger can stay on the outside, he has decent kicks, and do kind of what Alan Jouban done. I just don't think Jake Ellenberger has that in him. He likes to kind of get into the pocket and land as well. So I do think it's going to lead in. So I'm going to pick Mike Perry by KO. I'm going to go second round.
I'm the same. Unfortunately, I'm the same. I like Jake Ellenberger. It's not that I don't like Mike Perry, but, you know, it's just... I just think Perry's going to have too much. So I'm going to go with Perry. And probably agree with second round or late first round stoppage. My next bout of the evening is the awkward one where we just had the guest on and we now have to pick the fight. So your next fight is fan favourite, Danny Henry favourite, Joe Lauzon taking on Stevie Ray. Biggest fight for Stevie Ray, as he was saying. He's looking forward to this. He thinks maybe Lauzon's head isn't fully in it. He's not taking it as serious. But has our conversation with Stevie changed your thoughts or added to your more fuel to your petrol tank to pour?
I'm gonna go with Stevie Ray. I think it's a good matchup for him, honestly. The reason being, if you look at Joe Lauzon's recent wins, if you look at kind of a striking, especially in his last fight against Jim Miller, he can get landed on, and I think with Stevie Ray, he has good kicks. He's very good at distance. He has good distance management, and he's decent on the ground. So I think the only way that Joe Lauzon wins this fight, and again, could be completely wrong, but I think the only way that Joe Lauzon wins this fight is if he drags it to the ground. Might be able to submit him. He's phenomenal grappler. He can submit basically anybody. But I think Stevie Ray has enough in him to not get submitted. But I think the problem would be if Joe Lauzon does get it to the ground, he could do that Alan Patrick thing where he can keep it down. Now, Joe Lauzon generally doesn't do that. It's not his game. He doesn't really smother people. He'll take it to the ground and he'll go for submissions, which I think could lead to openings for Stevie Ray to get back to his feet and use a striking, which I think is what's going to happen. I think Stevie Ray will be able to keep it at distance, and I think he's just going to be able to outland Joe Lauzon on the feet and get the win. And that's why I'm picking Stevie Ray. I'm going to go Stevie Ray by decision. I just don't think Joe Lauzon's going to be able to get enough takedowns to keep it on the ground to get the win. Even though Joe Lauzon has showed in the past that he can land, but I do think Stevie Ray, he's quite good defensively and offensively on the feet, but I think it will be a decision.
I'm a big Joe Lauzon fan.
Yeah.
Big Joe Lauzon fan. He's sort of like a yo-yo at the minute in results. That 1 minute he's up, next minute he's down. Beautiful. He had the high against Diego Sanchez. He had the low against Jim Miller. He had the high against Marcin Held.
Yeah.
So was it the low against Stevie Ray?
You're looking at the trends.
Yeah, I like.
Marcin Held was a close one.
It was very close fight. Yeah. I thought Held won.
So was Jim Miller one.
Yeah. Stevie Ray is. This is almost again like what we're saying with Perry and Ellenberger. Stevie Ray is on the start of his journey in the UFC, while Lauzon has been there, done it, is the absolute veteran of the game. I think Lauzon, when it goes to the ground, can be dangerous. He's susceptible though, because he goes for things he can get hurt.
Yeah.
And Stevie Ray has big power as well. I'm really stuck on this one because I like Lauzon so much. Yeah, you're really stuck. Are you? Pick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the new breed.
Pussy. I'm joking.
I don't know.
And I will say one thing before any commenters come on and say, "Oh, you had Stevie Ray on the show. Of course you're gonna pick him." We had Neil Seary on the show, an Irishman, and I picked against Neil Seary. So I
just think looking to justify my pick, I just think Lauzon, he's always in great fights.
Yeah.
And he's always in wars, and there's certain things, and it almost becomes a custom when Joe Lauzon fights, you're going to see an absolute war.
Yeah.
Have them wars added up, and I think Stevie Ray's going to be the smarter guy in there. I just think he's not going to get embroiled into that. He's going to pick it. You can look at in Diego Sanchez fight with Lauzon. That was the Lauzon I want to see nowadays, and if that Lauzon turns up, I think that Lauzon beats Stevie Ray. But I agree in a way what Stevie was saying about. I could flip. I honestly think I'd flip here. I'm nearly talking myself into Joe Lauzon here as well. It's a pick 'em, and I'm picking Stevie Ray. I just think he's the newer guy. He's coming up, and I think Joe Lauzon might be seen not as psyched for this fight as Stevie Ray is.
You never know.
And I think this is a bigger challenge for Stevie Ray.
Yeah, I wonder if you can read into that, coach in his corner. And we've seen other fighters do it who won, so it's not
it's done on a regular basis here at any show as well. Yeah. No, I'm going to go with Stevie Ray just because I just think he sees the opportunity and how big this is, and he's just hungrier at this time than Joe Lauzon.
Yeah. Next up, John Dodson against Eddie Wineland. I think this is a great fight.
Great fight. But when you're watching the fight, do not be alarmed. You haven't sat on the remote and pressed rewind or fast forward.
Rewind.
You haven't done any of that stuff. That's just how quick John Dodson moves.
Yeah.
I like John Dodson. John Dodson is in the sort of Rose Namajune's chair here, where he's great, and then he has to fight Demetrius Johnson. So he's in that sort of catch.
Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah, I know, but no, you know what I mean. He's in that sort of catch. He's explosive. He is one thing in this division that it was spoke about that the little guys don't have knockout power. That was always said. Dodson has that knockout power. Coming off a loss to Lineker over 5
really,
rounds.
really close loss. Really, really close decision that I'm not sure. Can't remember how I scored at that time, but it was close.
I think the big thing in this fight, Rob, isn't going to be that you only have knockout power when you're in the right place to throw that knockout shot. I think footwork is going to win this fight for John Dodson. He is so fast, like that you almost can't see how good his footwork is, the angles he creates. He lands his shots in the pocket and gets out of there and is gone and is landing a kick. And it's his speed and his footwork and his combinations. He works in combinations. He doesn't work in single shots. And he sets up that knockout by moving and creating these angles. It's so quick. Wineland has a phenomenal overhand on him as well. He can land big. If Wineland connects, he can put out Dodson here as well. I just think Wineland is going to be swinging a fresh air. And John Dodson is just going to be too fast, too elusive, and land the finishing shots and get Wineland out there in the second. Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think footwork is going to be the biggest factor in this one. And the speed. The speed, I think, is going to be big because if you watch Dodson's last fight with Lineker, and I'm not saying Lineker and Wineland have a similar style, but they both have that big power where you want to stay away from it. And Dodson done such a good job staying away from that. Didn't really get landed on too much. And even when he got backed up against the cage, he could get out of there. And Wineland doesn't do that too much. Wineland generally will let fighters come towards him, try land a shot, and then he'll counter. Yeah. If you watch his fight with Mizugaki, well, he came forward and landed. But if you watch his fight with, before Mizugaki, it was... I shall check it now. Yeah, Frankie Saenz. When Frankie Saenz come in with that big overhand right, and Wineland just pivot off to the right and just landed the big shot, he catches him all the time, and he caught him early and then he caught him late, and that's the one that finished him. I think if he lets Dodson get into that where Dodson jumps in, lands the big shot and gets out, I think Dodson has the footwork and he has the speed to get away from the big shot. I think as well what will happen to speed is Wineland will get frustrated by it, and he'll go more gun-ho with him, and that'll play more into Dodson as well. And one thing that always gets pointed out, especially when Joe Rogan's on commentary, is how unorthodox Wineland is with his hands. He keeps his hands very, very low. Now, it works for him. It's similar to Artem Lobov, who keeps his hand very, very low, but it works for him. But I think with the likes of a John Dodson, he's going to be very, very quick. And if he can get in and out as quick as possible, that we know he can get in and out on, if he's fully there, I think that he can land on Eddie Wineland, that he's going to finish him. And he has power. So I'm going to go with a John Dodson finish in the second round as well. Nice. He's wearing an agreement here. Yeah. Moving on up the card, you're looking at the light heavyweight division now. You've got Ovince St. Preux taking on Marcos Rogério de Lima. Ovince St. Preux still ranked 8th, which is peculiar. He's on 3 losses. It's just that thin division, isn't it? I think Ovince St. Preux, he was riding the crest of a wave for a while. Yeah. And he was riding the wave well, in fairness to him. And then he ran into John Jones. And it's just since then, he then ran into Jimmy Manuwa. And then, obviously, his last defeat was a decision against Volkan Ozdemir. Say with confidence. Yeah. And I just think Ovince St. Preux, 3-fight loss. I think the only reason why he still says UFC on his glove is because he took the John Jones fight on short notice. Maybe. 3 losses, you normally get marching orders, and he hasn't looked good in them 3 losses. He done well against John Jones. Done well against John Jones. I thought he looked good in the first round against Jimmy Manuwa. I thought he looked pretty terrible against Ozdemir. And against a lower level guy as well, which is the problem. Do you fight to your level? Some people fight to their level, and if he fights to his level against De Lima, I'm not sure who wins that fight, because I don't think De Lima is particularly that great either. And normally I would, and I'm going to say normally, but I'm still going to pick Ovince St. Preux because I think he's just a better fighter. But that's my hope that last fight isn't an indicator of what we're going to see in this fight, because if it is, I can't see De Lima winning. De Lima has a couple of wins. His last fight was over Kimball, who again isn't spectacularly great either. He's just okay. You have to go on Ovince St. Preux, who has looked good in his past fights. He looked good against Fei Zhao, looked good against John Jones, I thought. He looked good in the first round against Jimmy Manuwa. Patrick Cummins fight, he looked good. So I'm hoping that it's just the level he's fighting, and that Ozdemir fight is
just a weird outlier because he looked fairly terrible in that fight. But Ovince St. Preux does a lot of things good. He has a lot of power. He's big for the weight class.
I just think he comes across sometimes in the cage almost lazy.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he doesn't want to do the little things to get him. You know, he'd be in a position, and if he just does a simple, like, works the underhook and tries to turn, and he just doesn't do it. It's like he knows what to do, but it's like, I'm alright just sitting here or something. Like, it's weird. I'm actually going to go with the Lima in this one, and the reason being for that is that exact reason. Like, I think the John Jones fight was the pinnacle of his career. Maybe. And I think he's coming down. Like, there's no, like, Jimmy Manoa could probably knock out the majority of the light heavyweight division. So I don't think, you know, there's no shame in losing that. But he just hasn't. I don't know. He just doesn't get me excited watching him anymore. You just don't feel... Well, before he was sort of unknown. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, this guy, geez, he looks good, this guy. You know what I mean? And you were watching out for him. And I just think that maybe he's reached... I talk about this, you know, people win the title, and when they win the title, then they fall away. And I think, although he didn't win the title, I just think the John Jones fight was... Maybe. Was the crest of the wave, and he's fallen off the back of it now. Just keep that stupid analogy running now. But I'm going to go with the Lima here. And like, the Lima can win all ways. He's good submissions, and he's good on the feet. I think he's going to finish him on the feet. I really do. I just think Ovince St. Preux, he's getting lazy. He was sort of switching slowly in stances, and I can't remember what fight it was. He was going from orthodox to southpaw, and it was really lazily done or something as well. And I don't know. It's just... He just looks like a sulky child or something in the octagon. I go, do I have to? And I just think Lima is going to be the hungrier guy in here again, and I just think Lima's going to get it done. Yeah, I think if he does, I think the hunger is a big question. And Lima did miss weight, as far as I remember, in his last fight. So he wasn't hungry.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, but I'm going to go with Ovince St. Preux because he was improving. He was improving, and you ran into John Jones, no shame, and Jimmy Manoa. He can get knocked out. As you said, he can knock out anybody. So I'm going to take that as an outlier. I'm going to say that he's going to look decent in this fight. I'm going to say he's going to win it. But I'm going to say decision.
No, I just think the Lima. I'm going to throw one in the
Up next, Iaquinta versus Diego Sanchez. I love this fight.
Yeah, just a couple of reasons. It means that Matt Serra and Ray Longo are going to be in the corner.
That's true.
And it also means that you're going to have Diego Sanchez walking down to the cage going, yes, yes. This is Iaquinta hasn't fought in a long time. Yeah. I believe it's a year. It'll be a year. Yeah. Am I right?
Yeah, around the year.
Yeah, he hasn't fought in a long time. I like Iaquinta. I like his style of fighting. I like the way he fights. He's a real hard-nosed fighter. Yeah. He'll stand and strike. Like, when you look at it, he has wins over Masvidal, Lauzon, Ross Pearson. I like him. Diego Sanchez. Again, Diego, let's be honest, is it probably in the twilight of his career?
Definitely in the twilight. I think even he'll have been that.
Good win over Health in his last fight though. But I'm going to go with Iaquinta here. I like his boxing again. I think footwork is something here. I think Joe Lauzon set the blueprint as well, how to beat this Diego Sanchez. Diego showed he can be finished. Wasn't something that you'd normally seen with Diego Sanchez getting finished away. Lauzon finished him as well, and I just think Iaquinta, I like him. This whole thing that went on with the UFC sort of annoyed me that he had to stay inactive because of it. I just like his style. He's a lovely boxer. His head movement is great, and he really digs the shots in as well. You know, he really plants and uses combinations again and finishes it. I think it's like a left hook. I can't remember. It's been a year. But he finishes beautifully all his combinations. But he's no slouch on the mat either. So I'm going to go here. I honestly think in this fight, you're going to see Diego Sanchez pushing for takedowns. Diego's going to go back to that wrestling style that he used very well. So Diego will be looking to implement the takedown. But it's Diego Sanchez. So if he gets caught, he'll go, yeah, fuck it, let's brawl like motherfuckers. Yeah. But I just think Iaquinta here, again, the twilight against the younger guy.
Yeah, it's a kind of a it's the card,
team in the card, isn't it? Yeah. I just think Iaquinta, I like him. I think it's better for MMA here if Iaquinta wins this fight because he's the young guy coming up. But yeah, Diego Sanchez is an animal and he's a lunatic, and it's very hard to predict the Diego Sanchez fight because it's Diego Sanchez.
Unpredictable, yeah. But I do completely agree. I think Iaquinta matches up really, really well with Diego Sanchez. As you said, Diego Sanchez is very wild. Like he'll get into those crazy brawls. But Iaquinta, if you watch his last couple of fights, and it's been a long time, and I'm sure he's improved since then, which is probably a scary thing. If you watch his last couple of fights, his shots, his hands are really, really good. And he comes from a wrestling background, so you can't sleep on his takedown defense either. Yeah. He's very difficult to take down, and he's quick. So I think it's going to be difficult for Diego Sanchez to get those takedowns. And if he does, Iaquinta trains with some really good guys in Sierra and Longo's gym. So I think he'll be able to get back to the feet. Because that's what I was really impressed with Diego Sanchez. He went back to his wrestling in his couple of fights. Against Jim Miller, he went back to his wrestling. I picked against him, and that I didn't think he could have done that. He did. He done it again as well with Marcin Held. He out-grappled Marcin Held, which is a good feat, especially at this late in his career. But I think Iaquinta, going back to his last couple of fights, his last couple of knockouts, his shot selection on those knockouts, like he almost made Joe Lauzon quit, and you don't see that an awful lot. Yeah. Joe Lauzon had to be saved by the referee. He didn't even get put down. He was just getting... Yeah. It was honestly, it looked like a pro wrestling match. He was hitting him, and Lauzon was just falling across the cage, landing into the cage. Well, look, he had to be saved.
Just look at the last names.
Jorge Masvidal. Look where Masvidal is right now.
Lauzon, Ross Pearson, and Rodrigo Dan. It's just like, they're like big finishes, big names. Yeah. We were talking to Stevie Ray about he wants to fight. It's literally the blueprint. Ross Pearson, Joe Lauzon. This is the path that Stevie Ray's on, and it's a good path. And I just think Iaquinta, this hiatus, whatever the reasons, what it was, contractual shite, whatever it was, it's upset a young fighter here. Like, by upset I mean it's taking him away from octagon time. And as you say, and we always say, when a young guy goes away and comes back, you see the evolution. But there might be a little bit of ring rust, but I think in a Diego Sanchez, that'll be washed off straight away in that fight. And I think this is a potential fight of the night. Yeah, me too. Fight of the night, or I just think performance of the night for Iaquinta. I really think he matches up very, very well with him. Again, I thought Waterson matched up quite well with Namajunas. I was completely wrong on that one, and I will admit that. But I honestly think this one, I think he matches up quite well with him. So we'll see how it goes. The thing about with this fight is Diego Sanchez could bull rush and make us look like idiots within the first minute. And you could see in Iaquinta's his last loss against Mitch Clark, he got caught on the ground, and that can't happen. And he was winning that fight fairly handily. He was winning it really well, and Mitch Clark caught him. So something like that could happen, but I don't think it will. And I'm picking Iaquinta to get the win. Don't know if he's going to finish him. Probably will. It's just, it is difficult enough to finish Diego Sanchez. I'm going to go with a decision. I'm going to go with a dominant decision. That's literally words in my mouth. Yeah, dominant decision, 100%. Your main event of UFC Fight Night 108 sees Cub Swanson taking on Artem Lobov. This fight has caused controversy of different things. People saying different things. Artem wouldn't be in the UFC without Conor McGregor. He's only a main event because of Conor McGregor. Let's wash all that away, because a lot of it is bullshit. Artem went through the tough house, got in, right, the L called back because he lost and all that. But he's got in, and Artem is rightfully in the UFC by his own accord. He's a good fighter. He's an exciting fighter. The only fight that wasn't exciting with Artem was when he fought Diaz's guy. I can't even remember the guy's name. Let's look that up on the internet. Chris Avila. Yeah, Chris Avila. Avila didn't want anything to do with the fight. No. And some would say his fight coming out of Tough House, the finale, wasn't exciting. I found it very, very exciting against Ryan Hall. But then he went against Ishihara, and what a fight. Yeah, that was his best performance by far, and I think a lot of people called that out. And I think that put more... Standing hammer fists. Yeah, I think that put more stock into him. Yeah. But I do agree with the people who say that he wouldn't be where he's at right now in a main event if it wasn't for Conor. I don't think you can really dispute that. I don't think a guy who has 3 fights in the UFC would be in the main event, and especially if there's a couple of losses there. So I think that's true. But I do think that he deserves to be in the UFC. He's fought a lot of good guys on the regional scene, and if you look at his record, you know, it's difficult the way he took so many fights in so many different weight classes against these guys. And like, if you talk about guys who've pad the record, Artem wasn't one of those, and he had plenty of losses because of it. And a lot of people like Cub Swanson, who said that Artem kind of treated his record pretty badly at the start of his career. And I think a lot of people could say that about him, and I would kind of agree with it, but it also kind of shows to what type of fighter Artem Lobov is. And he'll just go in there, he just wants to fight, he doesn't care. So that definitely goes towards him. He's going to stand in there. If Cub Swanson plays the game that he played in his last fight against the Korean Superboy, Artem has every chance in the world to win this fight. But I don't think that's going to happen. I just think Cub Swanson is smart enough to use his range, use his grappling, especially his grappling. If he takes it to the ground, I just don't see any really way that Artem Lobov can win this one. But as I said,
if Cub Swanson, and I would say stupidly, decides to stand with Artem Lobov. Not that he can't knock Artem Lobov out, because he can, because Cub Swanson is a beast on the feet. But it gives Artem Lobov that chance, because Artem Lobov will come forward, and if he lands, he has some power. He has a lot of power. So it's probably the easiest way to break the fight down. But if that's the way the fight kind of, probably will play out. If it stands on the feet, Artem Lobov will have a chance. If it doesn't, I don't see Artem Lobov having a chance.
This is the situation where Daniel Cormier, when he fought Anderson Silva, said, "Why would I strike with one of the best strikers in the world?"
Do you know what the crazy thing is? Cub Swanson isn't that guy.
Yeah, but
he's just not that guy.
But you see, Cub Swanson loves a knock.
He does.
Right? Artem loves a knock. So let's have a knock.
Yeah,
that's the way. I'm a big Cub Swanson fan, and I have been for a long time. Artem Lobov, I've watched Artem in sports halls here, and now to see him at the top, fighting on the main card in the UFC, as a fan and as somebody who's watched him on the local scene here, I think it's amazing. Yeah, right, the corner push helps, but fuck it, everybody gets a push in everything in life.
In a certain way.
Artem is there. I agree with you, Rob, that Artem's chance of winning this fight is a brawl with Swanson and Landon. Artem hits hard.
He hits very hard.
Very hard. Doho Choi hits very hard, and Swanson got through that.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is where it is. I honestly think Artem has more. Like, Artem is a good stand-up fighter. He's good striking. He's not the most technical guy in the world.
As we said, it works for him. And he throws shots from weird angles.
But the thing about Artem is he has this big, huge thing in his chest that pumps, and he's got unbelievable heart. He doesn't have the quit button in him. But I just think there's a level in everything. In every sport, there's a level. And I just think that Cub Swanson is just that level ahead. Cub Swanson can throw crazy techniques.
Cartwheel kicks.
Sang-choi kicks, cartwheel kicks, a lot of spin and stuff. His boxing can be really tight and elite, his angles. But then there's the Cub Swanson who comes in and just wants to have a crazy fight.
And he throws them swinging overhand rights. He throws the
statements that Cub is speaking in this. You don't belong in the UFC. I'm going to make an example of you. It mightn't be Conor, but you're a teammate, and I'll do what I done to Conor. To me, it sounds like Cub is a bit invested in this.
Yeah, and that can play into Artem's hands. It really can.
Exactly. So, I can guarantee you that, Artem and his SPG teammates will have, and coaches will be aware of this and be training for it. Like, they know this fight was announced a long way back.
Yeah.
So Artem, Artem is a very smart man. He's a well-educated man. I think he's like a master's from college. I'm not too sure what it's in, but like, Artem will know coming in here. He'll have a game plan to go at.
100%,
I can guarantee you, Artem Lobov isn't in this fight just thinking, "Oh well, I'm going to get beat." He's in this fight because he thinks, if Artem Lobov wins this fight,
it's enormous.
Where does this put him in the division?
Yeah, it puts him right up there.
Cub Swanson is on a 3-fight win streak,
and you don't want to bring it back to he's Conor McGregor's teammate, but he still does have that
shadow
name.
is always going to be there.
It's going to be on him, and if he does win it,
Ishihara, it was a huge fight. Everybody thought he was just going to turn up and beat the brakes out of Artem.
Yeah, and
that didn't happen.
Ishihara is good, and I think I tweeted it. That's his best performance in the UFC by far. Probably his best performance of his career.
Yeah,
and his boxing looked really, really good. And there was times where we seen the old Artem. There's times where you've seen it, and I always say it when I'm picking fights. People say, "Oh, if Cub Swanson or whoever fights really, technical like this," but that's not art. Like, if Johnny Hendricks fights a certain way, or you know what I mean, that's not how they fight. They fight the way they fight, and they've got success with that. So why change it?
Give me your pick.
I'm picking Cub Swanson. I'm picking Cub Swanson by submission in the 3rd round, rear naked choke or something like that.
Submission. Yeah, this is where the tricolour gets taken away from my coffin. I'm also going with Cub Swanson here. I just think there is a level. Yeah. And Cub is just one level above. Well, a couple of levels above.
But
Artem.
when you talk about puncher's chance, Artem
it's there.
has that.
If these were to fight 10 times, Artem will win.
He could, especially because of the way Cub Swanson fights.
Yeah. So it's definitely, zoom in on that. It's definitely, if they fought 10 times, Artem would win probably a couple of them fights. He just needs one of them occasions to be Saturday night. Yeah. But I'm going Cub Swanson. and I think he'll finish him as well.
And here's the most important part. This video, comment below who you think will win. If you disagree with us, if you think Artem Lobov's going to pull it off, do it. If you think Joe Lauzon's going to beat Stevie Ray, comment below. Tell us how stupid we are.
Exactly. And enjoy the fights.